Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources. And this resource is targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with the manifestation of alcoholism in any way it manifests. We're also a resource to the loved ones of addicts. My name is Justin B. I am a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in the miraculous recovery one day at a time. And I'm joined by two of my favorite people in the world. We've got Nikki M. and David G. sitting around the round table from all over North America. And we're going to be diving into the big book here. But before we do that, I'd like to have Nikki come off mute and introduce herself, and then we'll go to David.
Hi, everybody. That's cool. I'm up first. I need this table today. I'm Nikki M. I'm a grateful member. According to my book, I'm an intelligent agent spearhead, and resentments are going to kill me. So I need to be at this table today because I got something tickling at my soul. So I just love to be buckled in here and ready to rock. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the service, you guys. Love you both.
Thank you, Nikki, for being here. David, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, thank you for your service. Nikki, thank you for yours as well. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts, recovered by God's grace, and was given that gift on August 8th in 1994. So I'm super grateful to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to continue our deep dive into the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're in the chapter Into Action, and we're at the bottom of page 85. Today we are going to be starting step 11, and that's how that paragraph begins. And we'll just be reading two paragraphs on step 11, and we'll be reading more paragraphs on step 11 over the next couple of weeks as we record these. So grab your big book, your highlighter, your pen, paper, anything you need to do to take notes and get ready to get into action as we apply these principles in all our affairs. All right, I'm going to start reading. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than us are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. All right, so in those two paragraphs, there's a lot there, and I'm excited to dive into this and see Nikki's take and then David's take. So, Nikki, why don't you walk us through that? Give us your take on those couple of paragraphs.
Well, thank you so much for reading that, Justin. And what's exciting is I did a step 11 today with a sponsee. So, I have a resentment, but it's not going to kill me because it's going to be gone in a second here because I know that I'm always at fault and always to blame. But I want to read what step 11 on page 59 says. It says sought. See, that's what we're here. We're on to step 11. We're sought through prayer. We're seeking. Hi, I should introduce myself. Hi, I'm Nikki M. I'm a seeker. And I'm seeking through prayer and meditation, talking to God and listening to God to improve. I'm not here to maintain anything. I'm here to improve conscious. I need to be awake and aware with this power as I understand it. Part 2 is I'm to pray only for the knowledge of this, for the knowledge of the power of God's will. And then part 3 is I need the power to carry this out. So make sure your sponsees know what step 11 is about because there's 3 parts in there. And so step 11 suggests prayer, talking to God, and meditation, listening to God. See, a lot of the time, and I've been here 13 years, I'm just waking up to the fact that I don't meditate at all. Go deeper. I hardly breathe. And I'm just waking up to that now. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. See, I used to think praying was lame. I used to think religious people were stupid. I used to think all that stuff was not for me. And now I'm in constant thought prayer thought? What would WWGD, what would God do? Better men, women than me are using it constantly. And my heroes are people who pray nonstop, constantly. You know, they ask that question, you guys, who would you like to have dinner with when you die? Or if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be? My favorite answer is always that radical Jew named Jesus, because I just want to know, is what they said true? You know, is what they said true? So I know that they talked about him being in constant prayer with the Father, and that's what I want to do. See, it works. Everyone out there, do you believe your big book? Because if you don't believe your big book, we're on step 11. Why are you here? See, I've said it before. If you're in Scientology, believe the Scientologist. But if you're in 12 step, believe the blue book and believe the people here, because it works. If, caveat, if we have the proper attitude. My friend David G's drilled it into me and Justin B that we are here strictly for a new attitude, new beliefs, new ideas, a whole new way of thinking and believing. Right? And we have to work at it. See, it's easy to be vague about this matter. And this is what the crux of the book is: walking in prayer and meditation, a life, a master, a Jedi. Not easy. Yet we believe, I love that word, believe. Do you believe? We can make some definite and valuable, hey, everybody, this is just suggestions. This is not you have to do anything. This is a way that works for us, and we're going to suggest to you that you do this. Now, why do they start out with the PM focus? I asked a long time ago, and I realized if I go to bed with this stuff on my heart, on my mind, and my soul, I won't get up in the morning. So when I retire at night, we constructively line out, no self-loathing, constructively. Not self-loathing. I'm no good. I'm a piece of shit. I should just rot in hell and die. It says constructive, Nikki. Review your day. I spent my life reviewing my parents, my boyfriends, my baby daddies, my children, my government, the entire world. Nikki's day. Was Nikki resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Well, today I'm resentful, so there you go. I'm going to have to put that down. Do I owe an apology? That's a big no. I have not done or acted out in any way. Have I kept something to myself which should be discussed with another person? That doesn't mean grandma. That doesn't mean my untreated friends. That means with a big book sponsor or the properly appointed authority at once, fast. Why? It will eat my soul if I don't get in here and get this right. Because the things that are so small in my head become real big, and I go right to I should die. So have I kept something? No. That should be discussed real quick? No. I love this. Were we kind and loving towards all? See, Michael Jordan had to take all of the shots all of the time to become the world's best basketball player. He didn't make all of the shots all of the time, but he took them all the time. I have to try and be loving and kind towards all, because I'm going to fail real big, and I'll start right next door with the neighbors who are destroying my home. See, if I'm loving and kind towards all or make an effort to it, it means less paperwork, less amends. Could we have done something better? What could we have done better is what the book said. Sorry. And it doesn't say perfect, everybody. It says better. Only God is perfect. Hey, Al-Anons, I'm Al-Anon, Miss Al-Anon over here, Miss Codependent. Leave the perfection for God. It says better. Were you thinking of yourself, Nikki, most of the time? Yeah, 13 years later, I'm getting pretty good at not, but I still do it. Or were we thinking what we could do for others? See, I'm a full-time sponsor, so I have my head a lot in this book. I run a lot of fellowships. I'm thinking of others nonstop, of what Nikki could pack into the stream of life. And this is how I like to describe the stream of life. Ready, guys? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. stream of life, not everybody hurry, jump in, let's go. Jump in. Don't look at that. We don't got time. You see, it's a big difference here. Stop and smell the roses, not hurry up and be a lunatic with your head cut off like a chicken running around the coop, not knowing your head from your ass, Nikki. See, I love this next line. Here's a big instruction. And when people call me out of their mind, I take them straight here. Must not drift. You don't get to drift. Remember page 59 says, may you find God now. Stay right here now with me. Do not drift into worry, morbid reflection, or remorse. It diminishes. You're no good to anybody. And then after you make the review of yourself, Nikki, and not your government or your country, ask God. It doesn't say call your sponsor. It says ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures. What corrective measures? And most of them is my thought life and thinking about these spiritual principles and how I'm going to serve the entire human race, because that's what my step 8 list says. The entire human race you've offended. So you have a lifetime of work, Nikki. These are clear-cut instructions. I love you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nikki. All right, David, how about you? What's your take on these couple of paragraphs?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing as Miss Nikki there. But, it's this is just something I did not do for 25 years. Whenever I went through the work in 2019 with a guy who led me through this book, he said there will be no days off on step 11. There will be no extra merits. You either do it or you go home. One of the two. We're not bullshitting here. And so when I was doing my 4-step writing back over on page 67, what some people call the 4th column, one of the questions in that is, what could I have done better? And I come up with all this bullshit, and he would come back and read that, as I would check in with him weekly, and he'd say, no, put down there that I'm spiritually lazy. And it pissed me off. And after a while, I said, I don't like writing that. I said, man, I've been around here for a long time. He said, but have you been doing steps 10 and 11? And I said, no, not the way the book calls me. He said, then you're spiritually lazy. Write down that you're spiritually lazy. And so if you're not doing this and you've been here for a while and you're suffering and you're having a hard time, I know life throws curveballs at us and sometimes we can't help that. But there are things that we can damn sure do, and prayer and meditation is one of them. Now, Bill didn't have any more of an idea of how to do this than most of us. But he did say that we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. Valuable and definite being the key words. When we retire at night, not when we go to bed, go to sleep, getting ready to close my, I'm laying in bed, I'm wanting to, look at this stuff. Shit, I get tired, I go to sleep. Used to, if I would stay in meditation any more than 5 minutes, it'd turn into a sexual fantasy and the whole damn thing would be gone anyway. That's not prayer and meditation. So when I retire at night, sometime for me, it's between dinner and the time that we sit down in the evening to begin to watch our evening shows or whatever it is we're going to do. I just tell her, hey, I need about 7 or 8 minutes here. And I have not missed a night of this for a long, 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 long damn time. Now, I've got a different sponsor since then, and he doesn't do this. He doesn't have to do that. He does it in his own way. But for me, this is the way I do it. I sit down, I answer these questions honestly. I put it in the form of an email, and I send it to him. I just do. And so, one of the things that I like to look at, what makes my wife smile? And whatever makes her smile, I need to embark upon that. I need to engage with that. I need to pay attention to that. And, I want to make the most of that. Notice this says constructively. And Nikki, really, I love your share on that. For me, that doesn't mean destructively. And one of the things that I want to do whenever I get into that, or I used to want to do, is my mind would want to go to all the destructive things that I'd done throughout the day. And I always thought about that too. Why is it there at night and then, awakening comes later? But as I read other books, I see one in particular that said there was evening, there was morning, there was day 1, there was evening, there was morning, there was day 2. So it always started with the evening, not the morning. Now, some of the guys that I take through this, they're better at doing this in the morning. I don't tell them, no, you can't do that. It's just shit, you're doing it. I mean, you're going to grow into this as you go. But I answered the questions one at a time. Was I resentful? Question mark. Then I prayerfully ask God to show me. Then I go to selfish, dishonest, afraid. Now remember, the four absolutes is absolute honesty, absolute love, absolute unselfishness, absolute purity. That's just the opposite of what these are. All this is really asking me is, where have you fell short in these areas today? And, I just write that down. I don't look at, oh man, you were so bad. Oh my God, you could have done so much better, but do I want an apology? That's a yes or no. And hell, if I owe it, I need to get ready to make it, because, tomorrow or whenever that time is, I need to make that apology as quick as possible. Remember, these were some of the same questions that we were asking step 10 as we were going throughout our day. And we kept something ourselves should have been discussed with another person at once. And alongside of that, I have bracketed secrets. And that's not just a secret I hold from you or hold from her, but what about the ones that I really don't want anybody to know? I was kind of an asshole over at the store today, or maybe I was a little flirty over there instead of being an asshole. I really don't want anybody to know about that. I shouldn't have done it. I'm sorry, God. Do better next time. No, guess what? It's going right there tonight. My sponsor's going to see that. And, so what secrets have I held on to? Was I kind and loving toward all? And for a long time, I just answered yes on that every time. And I remember talking to my sponsor one day, and I said, hey, man, you think I'm doing that wrong? And he said, well, I don't know. He said, why would you ask that question? And I said, I'm always writing yes there. And he said, well, are you being kind and loving? I said, yes. And he said, what about inwardly, Dave? Oh, shit. Now, there's times that I can be a pretty nice guy to someone's face. I'm pretty real these days, but there was a time that I was whatever you needed me to be to get whatever I wanted from you. And so I might think that you're a piece of shit, but I would never say anything about it, and that wasn't too often. I always have pretty much spoke my mind. But, we're looking inwardly at kind and loving as well as outwardly. And that changes the whole dynamic of that question, or it did for me. What could I have done better? And I'd come up with all this bullshit. I could have went to a meeting. I could have talked to a sponsor. I could have done this, could have done this. And he said, I only want to see one answer there. More conscious contact with God throughout the day. That's what you could have done better. That's what you should have done better. And if you're doing that, the rest of everything else is, he said, you constantly need to be reminded of more conscious contact throughout the day. So that is my answer. Sometimes I'll add a few other things, but for the most part, that is the answer. So I break this next one into two questions. I have a template on this that I can get to Justin. He can put in the show notes. And if anybody wants to take a look at it, it's just basically the same thing here, but it's in the form of a template. So I break these into two questions. Was I thinking of myself most of the time? Look in your book. There's a question mark there. That means stop. Answer that question. And I do. Was I thinking of me most of the time? Today, I can tell you absolutely I was not. My wife had foot surgery, a minor foot surgery a couple of weeks ago. All of my attention has been on her. She had a follow-up appointment today at 9 o'clock. We were supposed to record this morning, but you know what? That comes first. So I had to cancel. These guys were loving and good enough to push this out. And I can tell you that my thoughts were on her and they were on others. I took her out for a nice lunch. We were nice to the waitress. It was just, was I thinking of me most of the time? That's more than just a yes or no for me. Or was I thinking of what I could do for others, what I could pack into the stream of life? So what do I pack into the stream of life? I'm either packing joy, happiness, peace, clarity, self-control, discernment, or I'm packing in misery, and I'm packing in sadness, and I'm packing in resentments, and I'm packing in fear. And what am I packing into the stream of life today? Because whatever I'm packing in, it determines how that stream of life is going to go. But notice it says be careful. And that is the key word, be careful. You must be careful. Not to drift into worry, remorse, morbid reflection. So if I have made a mistake today, I tell my guys, you know what, do better tomorrow. When you get to the corrective measures, which is going to be one of those questions here in a few minutes, just put, God, help me be better tomorrow. Don't hang around in that shit. Quit worrying about it. Quit morbidly reflecting upon it. You made a mistake. Are you willing to change that and make an apology? If you are, okay. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to diminish your usefulness. to others. Remember, we've talked about usefulness to others all the way throughout the book. And that's what Bill says one of the qualifications of the fourth dimension is on page 8 of his story: usefulness, happiness, joy. So after making the review, and this is something I do, this is the prayer, I ask God's forgiveness, and notice that word "and." So there's more. I need to inquire, and I need to sit quietly and ask God to show me what corrective measures should be taken. Now, whatever I've come up with up above, I usually pretty much look at that as what I could have done different. How can I correct this and not pack this into my day tomorrow and make the same damn mistakes I made today? Now, sometimes I make them over and over until I finally learn. But for the most part, what I'm going to do with this corrective measure is fixing to go into the next morning with me, and that's going to become a part of my morning portion as well. And I'm correcting what I did today by moving in and bringing that with me into tomorrow. So this is a very powerful part of the book. My guys start with this from day one, and there's no letting up on it. Absolutely not. I mean, and if they get to missing nightly reviews, we might one or two. You get to missing more than that, then you're looking for someone else to go through the work with, because we just fall back to sleep, and we know what happens then. So anyway, that's my take, my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And you may have noticed this, but while David was talking, I was in with my nightly review, my 11th step review, changing my template. I have a template that I text to my sponsor and to my sponsees as they send theirs to me every day, and I tweaked it just a little bit to accommodate what I learned here. The two separate questions, were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, being one question, and then that next one being a separate, and making sure that I address both of those rather than just answering, today was a mixed bag, some me, some others, and that's often what that response is for me. So I've got a question for each of you. One thing you said, Nikki, that it just opened my eyes to something in my own life, the perfectionism. You said, leave the perfection to God. I'm not perfect. And yet, in my mind, I still think I have to strive for perfection. I know that I'm not that, but whatever. But I loved how you said, leave it to God. So talk to me just a little bit more about how you try to apply that in your own life.
Well, that's a great question. And I know we don't want to take people hostage on the podcast. So I'll make it quick. I believe my book. See, my book says we are not saints. So I know I'm not a saint. It says that on page 60. We reviewed it. So it's like, I'm not going to be perfect. My book says I'm not, so I'm not going to be, and I'm not going to expect it anymore. And then on page 117, it says you will make mistakes. Wow, there it is again. I'm not going to be perfect. So I have to believe my book. I think that's what this comes down to. Full stop, bottom line is people come into this program and they do not believe this book. They believe the rumors that they hear. They believe the watered down message, but they do not believe the blue book with the white pages and the black ink. So because I'm a perfection, I've got obsessive, if you want to go to the doctor route, I've got obsessive compulsive disorder. No, I don't. I have a spiritual malady, and I get obsessed and out of my mind if things aren't my way. That's the disease of alcoholism. I like to play God. So, nope, that word's not even in my vocabulary anymore, perfection. It's for God, the creator of the universe. And you know what? In God's eyes, I'm perfect. Amen.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nikki. I love how you brought that together there in the end. David, the thing that I want to talk to you about a little bit is kind of a technicality in this. So many people say that this end of day review is a step 10 review, but it's here in step 11. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of making that distinction between step 10 as I go throughout the day and step 11 reviewing my day.
Yeah, it's absolutely important. I hear people say that all the time as well. I've done a 10-step nightly review, but our book is very clear. It is not a 10-step nightly review. It's 11. People say, how do you know that? Drop to the bottom of page 85. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. Come to the top of 86, we start going into the nightly review. So this is the 11th step, nightly review, not the 10th. And the reason that that's so important, one, you're wrong if you're doing that. And, hell, if you're wrong about that, then you're probably wrong about a lot of other things. I don't, beat people down or blame them for that. That's what they've been taught by people who didn't know any better. But if you read the book very carefully, it's here to tell us this is not the 10th step. The 10th step is a walking around step all day long. By the grace of God, I'm not getting in trouble anymore in bed at night or whatever it is I'm doing. Hell, I come home with my wife, I go to sleep, I get up and I go to work in the day. I don't need a nightly review in the 10th step. I need a walking around step all day long. Look at page 85, middle of the page, in the warning paragraph. It ends this: every day, not when we go to bed at night. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. I best serve thee, thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts that must go with us constantly. So that, I just go to the book. It's like Nikki said, hell, I go to the book. And my book tells me very specifically, this is not the 10th step nightly review. And people can argue that all they want. I don't care. But if I sponsor you, if you work with me, we're going by the book. Opinions don't matter. Facts do. And the book is fact. Thank you.
Thanks, David. All right, let's go to takeaways. Nikki, let's start with you. What's a takeaway you had from today's reading or discussion that we've had?
This is the most important, if you ask me. Must not drift. Because our book tells us very clearly where you find God now in this moment. So if you are drifting into yesteryears, or if you are future tripping about what's to come, you're probably dying, because the only place you will find God is right here. So don't drift out of this moment right here, right now.
Thank you, Nikki. How about you, David? What's the takeaway you have from this?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. There's only one must in that paragraph of the evening review, and it's right there. Must. Be careful. Be careful, y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think my takeaway from this was something that David said is how he typically answers the question, what could I have done better today? And more conscious contact with God throughout the day. As I look back at my reviews and analyze, okay, what have they typically said? When it boils down to it, underneath it, if I just would have had more conscious contact with God and spent more time in trying to do what God would have me do, those things wouldn't have been as big a deal as they were. So that's my takeaway from this. Everybody, this nightly review is something that has been a game changer in my own walk. And I know I hear David talk about it all the time, and Nikki was talking about it today. And this is a game changer in my recovery. I will have a template for you. If you want to get a template, send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get you a template, or you can pull it off wherever you have. Just listen to what we've done here and follow that. It's an amazing process, as is all of recovery. So keep coming back, do the work, and do not drift. We must not drift, and work this program because it's worth it, and so are you.